my first video, called Everything Requires Awareness, I discussed the nature of limitations, finitude, duality, and that all the above require awareness in order to exist. In my second video, called Further Elaboration on Awareness, I discussed comparison, nothingness, and briefly brushed upon infinity. The links to both of these videos will be in the description section below. But for today's video, I will be taking you on a journey into the nature of that which appears. After all, it's one thing to understand that which everything appears to, meaning awareness, but it's an entirely different ballgame to reveal what it is that is actually appearing. I like to refer to that which appears as raw material. But what is raw material, you might ask? Well, it is none other than thought. But how could this be? Reudi, are you sure you're not losing your mind, you might wonder? Which is a perfectly justified question. But before we make any grand conclusions on my mental stability, let's take a closer look at thought. If I observe my thoughts, the first thing I can recognize is that I am not doing the thinking. The thoughts are just appearing. Furthermore, that it takes multiple steps to claim that I chose to think that thought. First, the thought appears to awareness. Second, a second thought appears to awareness, claiming credit for thinking the first thought. Third, something along the lines of, yeah, that sounds about right, well done me. If by any chance you experienced a thought arise that said, well, I don't do that, then that's exactly the thoughts I'm referring to. You might have experienced a thought arise that says, this Reudi guy has no idea what he's talking about. Has he got nothing better to do? Once again, those are the kinds of thoughts I'm referring to. All of which claim that something outside of thought did the thinking. Instead, what I'm claiming is that only thought can do the thinking, not anything outside of thought. In other words, thought can create the illusion of being physical reality, but physical reality cannot create the illusion of being thought. The way to truly verify whether or not physical reality is manifested by thoughts is to search for an example of something physical that has been manifested by thought and then unmanifested by thinking about it differently. For instance, one's reflection in a mirror. The common consensus is that there is an objective reality to which we navigate an objective body, enabling such a phenomenon of being able to observe our human form in a mirror. However, this assumption can be undone quite abruptly. You see, the only way to claim that what I see in a mirror resembles that of my physical face is if I could perceive my physical face without a mirror and compare the two, verifying that what I see in a mirror is correct. The problem with this verification is that it has never been done. Only now can it be realized that what supported the illusory knowledge of my own face in place was the assumption that a mirror reflected an accurate representation of something I had never seen. This is because it was an assumed knowledge. Without that assumption, there is no such knowledge of whether or not a mirror represents an accurate reflection of my face. It is completely unknown. Therefore, it was thought that created the necessary assumption to support the illusion of that aspect of physical reality, and thought that took it away. This means that what lies behind my experience of the outside world is unmanifested raw material, meaning thought. Observe the thoughts that appear to appear behind one's eyes and notice that there is no place they are occurring due to the fact they do not abide by physical laws. It is the abstract, uncontaminated raw material that has not been assumed to be physical yet. It can only manifest as physical reality once there is a reason to assume that a concept is needed in physical reality. Furthermore, the raw material that remains as concepts serves the purpose of defining the raw material that isn't concepts. In other words, the raw material, being thoughts that appear to appear behind one's eyes, create the necessary duality to support the raw material appearing in front of one's eyes, meaning the outside world. There is only such a physical reality because the raw material of thoughts assumes it to be the case. Because thoughts believe the assumption that create an illusory distinction between thoughts in our head and assumed physical reality, both being thoughts, then we define the lack of freedom in the physical world and define the abundance of freedom in the thoughts in our head. The only reason that some of the raw material remains unmanifested and some of it manifests into physical reality is because thoughts further agree to certain concepts and disregard others due to the assumed need for survival from within thought itself. Some are judged ridiculous and some are worth adopting. Once again, all of which is observed by the nothingness that is awareness. To summarize, the fundamental duality of reality is appearance and awareness. The appearance being the raw material of thoughts, the somethingness, and awareness being the nothingness.